Threat Insight welcomes you to our 2026 second quarter global risk review. We know that you will find something in this brief global risk review that will aid you in making the right decision in mitigating some of the current instability. I need to clarify that we are not a news agency, nor do we pass any judgment as to who or what is wrong or right in any high risk or conflict situation. We actively collect threat risk information, verify the underlying data, analyze the risk factors, triggers, implications, and additional threat vectors in aid of turning this into actionable threat intelligence. We aim to provide real risk intelligence which our clients can use to take proactive action, thereby minimizing the disruptive effect of these risks on the one hand, but equally important, to identify the opportunity. As we enter the second quarter, we confront a global environment marked by profound instability, rapid geopolitical realignment, and unprecedented systemic stress. During our first quarter risk review and the United States strategy review we conducted during January 2026, we stressed that the international order is undergoing a level of disruption not seen in decades, driven in large part by the actions of the United States. At the time, we stated that the current United States actions are not merely disruptive, but rather destabilizing. It is worth noting that since January 2025, a time span of 15 months, we have seen the continuation of the Ukraine war, which is the direct result of Russia's military invasion. More significantly, however, is the 8 active military theaters where the United States of America has been involved in. This includes the United States military operations in Somalia, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, Nigeria, the maritime operations in the Caribbean, including activity around Cuba, Venezuela, and Iran. While at the same time, the United States have threatened several other countries, escalated tension around Greenland, and clashed with both the United Nations and NATO. It has reshaped the global economic environment, causing Europe, Asia, and Africa to seek new economic and diplomatic partners beyond the United States. Equally detrimental to global political and economic stability is the military theaters where Israel is involved in. This includes 9 conflicts with military operations directed against Palestine, including both Gaza and the West Bank, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, Qatar, Tunisia, operations in Maltese and Greek waters, and the present war in Iran. The current United States, Israel, and Iran war is now reaching the start of the 5th week. It is reshaping global markets, straining diplomatic alliances, disrupting critical energy routes, and triggering cascading shocks across every continent. Both the United States and Israel miscalculated their combined capability in confronting Iran. What was touted as a 24-hour intervention became a 72-hour war, then a 1-week war, then a 10-day war, and at present, the Trump administration has indicated that they might be there for an extended period. What is clear is that unless a diplomatic solution is found soon, the instability caused by this war will continue, and as time goes by, will amplify regional tension, global political and economic instability, and has the potential to trigger a much wider and multiple conflict across multiple theaters. Against this backdrop, we must understand the risks before the opportunities that could potentially emerge from the large-scale disruptions become evident. What is, however, abundantly clear is that at a regional, national, and corporate level, strategic decisions are required to safeguard continuity and competitiveness. While individuals will have to rethink and take proactive actions in response to an ever-increasing instability. At the center of today's turbulence is the partial closure of the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point essential to global energy flows. Its disruption has forced oil prices above $110 per barrel and continues to exert severe pressure on transportation, agriculture, logistics, and global inflation. While energy-producing states may benefit from temporary price elevation, most economies, particularly those with fragile fiscal positions, are experiencing sharp economic strain. Simultaneously, established alliances such as NATO are showing visible fractures, while blocs like BRICS grapple with internal contradictions as they attempt to redefine their global role. Alongside these geopolitical shifts, multiple humanitarian crises are unfolding, marked by mass displacement, infrastructure failure, and rising food insecurity. Yet even within this environment of volatility, new openings are emerging in renewable energy, strategic logistics, supply chain reconfiguration, and critical minerals development. We will now consider each region with clarity and precision. North America enters this period under significant political tension. In the United States, heightened conflict between branches of government has created an unpredictable regulatory environment characterized by rapid tariff swings, contested economic powers, and erratic policy reversals. These internal disputes coincide with extreme climate-driven disruptions, exposing weaknesses in power grids, transportation systems, and emergency response capacity. Nonetheless, opportunities arise through accelerated AI adoption, infrastructure modernization, and the reshoring of manufacturing, those capable of anticipating policy variability, strengthening supply chain resilience, and modernizing operations will be best positioned to succeed. In South America and the Caribbean, the challenges are acute. Cuba faces near total systemic collapse, marked by national grid failures, depleted fuel supply, and the breakdown of hospital and utility systems. Haiti, meanwhile, is experiencing the near-complete dissolution of state authority, with armed groups controlling strategic corridors and critical infrastructure. Climate-related disasters across the region further intensify food insecurity and disrupt agricultural production. Despite these severe pressures, opportunities exist in climate-resilient agriculture, renewable energy integration, humanitarian logistics, and targeted infrastructure modernization initiatives. Europe, once a pillar of global stability, now confronts converging pressures. The continent faces strategic vulnerability arising from US unpredictability, renewed Russian aggression, and China's consolidation of control over key technologies and rare earth supply chains. Political fragmentation in major states such as France and Germany further undermines the bloc's cohesion at a time when coordinated action is most needed. Rising energy prices, driven by Middle Eastern instability, continue to strain European economies, particularly import-dependent states. And yet, Europe is also presented with an opportunity to accelerate investment in renewable energy, advanced manufacturing, hydrogen production, defense modernization, and supply chain diversification. The ability to reduce dependence on external energy sources and fortify internal cohesion will determine Europe's long-term resilience. Asia stands as the most exposed region globally, given its profound dependence on Middle Eastern energy. Approximately 75% of its energy imports transit the Strait of Hormuz, now operating under extreme risk. Countries with low fuel reserves, such as Pakistan and Vietnam, are already experiencing industrial shutdowns, supply chain strain, and severe pressure on public services. Market volatility has intensified across the region, with major indices falling sharply following escalations in the war. Rising tensions around Taiwan further compound uncertainty as regional security risks intersect with energy vulnerability. Yet the region also holds significant potential. Investments in renewable energy, LNG diversification, regional pipeline connectivity, storage capacity, and energy transition technologies offer long-term rewards. Nations with manufacturing capability, such as China, India, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and Vietnam, may also gain from global supply chain diversification, as firms seek alternatives to conflict-affected regions. The Middle East itself is the epicenter of global destabilization. What began as limited strikes against Iran has transformed into a multi-front war involving state and non-state actors across Lebanon, Syria, the Gulf, and the Red Sea. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz has forced global shipping into costlier extended routes, intensifying inflation and disrupting global supply chains. Iran faces severe internal fuel shortages and infrastructure degradation following sustained bombardment, while Israeli operations across the region have intensified, contributing to one of the largest humanitarian crises of the decade. 2025. Data from Israel's Central Bureau of Statistics shows that nearly 70,000 Israelis left Israel during 2025, with an influx of only 19,000. This is a long-term trend, as reported in a Knesset report, showing that Israel is experiencing an emigration tsunami, resulting in an annual deficit of around 50,000 people. Most Israelis indicated that they are leaving due to the political crisis and the ever-evolving security situation. This population change is further redefining the region. The Gulf states, despite being under missile and drone pressure, are accelerating investment into hydrogen, solar capacity, LNG bunkering, and economic diversification. These developments highlight the dual nature of the regional environment: severe near-term risk, accompanied by long-term opportunity in energy transition, defense modernization, and supply chain relocation. North Africa, though adjacent to the conflict rather than embedded within it, is deeply affected by global energy shocks. Rising oil prices are straining subsidy-dependent economies and widening fiscal deficits. Egypt faces critical pressure from inflation and currency volatility, while Tunisia and Algeria confront the political and financial burden of maintaining costly energy subsidy programs. Simultaneously, instability spilling over from the Sahel continues to threaten border security and regional supply corridors. At the same time, as Europe seeks diversified energy and industrial partnerships, North Africa has an opportunity to expand gas exports, renewable energy projects, and agrotech modernization. Success will depend on fiscal resilience, targeted social protection, and strengthened cross-border cooperation. The Sahel region is experiencing severe deterioration, driven by political fragmentation, militant expansion, climate stress, and the withdrawal of international security forces. Large territories in Mali and Burkina Faso have slipped beyond state control, while violence, displacement, and humanitarian crises escalate. Yet even here, opportunity emerges in stabilization missions, security sector partnerships, transport corridor redesign, and mining sector formalization. For these prospects to materialize, coordinated regional and international strategies will be essential. Sub-Saharan Africa more broadly faces rising political unrest, economic fragility, and security challenges. Kenya and Uganda are grappling with youth-driven protests intensified by inflation and governance concerns. South Africa, the region's largest economy, faces persistent energy price volatility, supply chain pressures, and structural inequality. Nonetheless, the region retains significant long-term potential in logistics, digital services, critical minerals development, and green energy infrastructure. East Africa, in particular, may benefit from shifts in global supply routes, while South Africa remains strategically positioned to leverage BRICS realignment and rising global demand for critical minerals. Allow me now to turn more specifically to South Africa's strategic opportunity landscape. Amid global turmoil, South Africa stands in a uniquely advantageous position, provided we act decisively. The reconfiguration of global supply chains, the acceleration of energy diversification, and the restructuring of geopolitical alliances have opened space for South Africa to strengthen its regional and global influence. The country's mineral endowment, industrial base, geographic position, and multilateral affiliations create an environment where South Africa can play a defining role in emerging value chains for critical minerals, hydrogen production, and green energy technologies. As instability in other mining regions grows, global investors are increasingly seeking reliable jurisdictions, and South Africa has the potential to attract significant capital in downstream processing, advanced materials, and mineral beneficiation. The global energy transition has also elevated South Africa's position as a potential supplier of renewable-powered industrial materials, hydrogen, ammonia, and battery components. As Europe and other regions seek alternatives to Middle Eastern and Russian energy sources, South Africa's green hydrogen initiatives, supported by major international partners, grow in strategic importance. Simultaneously, the redirection of global shipping routes away from high-risk Middle Eastern waters may increase throughput through South African ports, stimulating investments in logistics, manufacturing, and reindustrialization. South Africa's geopolitical relevance is also rising. As BRICS expands and internal divergences deepen, South Africa's relatively neutral stance positions it as a diplomatic bridge within the bloc, one with the credibility to mediate competing interests and influence evolving financial and trade mechanisms. However, South Africa also faces a significant diplomatic challenge in its deteriorating relationship with the United States. Over the past 18 months, tensions have escalated from policy disagreements to structural mistrust. The United States asylum offer to white South Africans, the suspension of social assistance, the threat to AGOA eligibility, and congressional action targeting South African leadership have created a severe diplomatic rift. This environment presents real risks, including potential sanctions, trade disruption, currency volatility, and domestic political pressure. Yet even here, a strategic opportunity exists. By deepening economic diversification, calibrating diplomatic messaging, and engaging directly with American business and congressional interlocutors, South Africa can mitigate the worst outcomes while strengthening its autonomy and global partnerships. By expanding its cross-border transaction settlement options, as is the case with the CIPS system adopted by Standard Bank, South Africa can limit the possible impact of a future SWIFT system sanction. This is making South Africa more resilient, as is its expansion into new markets in Asia and Europe, to offset the effect of United States tariffs and other punitive measures. Ultimately, across every region, a consistent message emerges. The world is entering a period defined by volatility, strategic realignment, and shifting power structures. For organizations and governments alike, resilience will be determined not by avoiding disruption, but by understanding it, anticipating it, and positioning strategically within it. We therefore stand at a pivotal moment. The choices we make now in energy, supply chains, diplomacy, and industrial development will determine whether we merely endure this era of instability or emerge from it stronger, more resilient, and better positioned to lead. The path ahead requires clarity, decisiveness, and long-term vision. If we act with purpose, the disruptions of today can become the foundation of tomorrow's strategic advantage. Practically, however, there is a need to safeguard people, assets, and operations with proactive and actionable intelligence. The ability to track and analyze risk and instability is critically important. The value of having a risk intelligence partner positioned to assist in mitigating the risk, identifying the opportunities, and providing the required long-term vision in navigating the instability and complexity is clear. This is where Threat Insight comes into the picture. Allow us to show your organization how we can further enhance your resilience by reaching out to our business development team. You can contact us on 0827715 or 08249978848 on country code +27, or you can simply email us. For clients, we have an interactive dashboard supporting this video with detailed data, information, and analytics, which allows them to derive greater and real-time insights as the world around us continues to evolve. Our team is standing by to support your organization. If you found the content of this video valuable, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss future updates. The Threat Insight team would like to thank you for your time and hopes to hear from you shortly.